Hello and welcome to the daily English news program on Azərbaycan Television. I'm your host, Hüseyin Lee, with the most important events of the day. On April 26, President İlham Aliyev, First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva and their daughter Leyla Aliyeva visited Cəbrayıl and Zəngilan districts. The detailed report on the visit will be presented on April 27th. On April 26, the 77th session of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific got underway virtually under the theme Building Back Better from the Crises through Regional Cooperation in Asia and the Pacific, at the organization's headquarters in Thailand. A speech by President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham Aliyev, was presented in a video format as a ministerial segment of the session for Asia and the Pacific region.
Now, may I invite the conference room officer to play the video message of the President of Azerbaijan, His Excellency Mr. İlham Aliyev.
Distinguished heads of state and government, distinguished Under-Secretary General for the United Nations. First of all, I'd like to express gratitude for the invitation to address the 77th session of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. Azerbaijan attaches great importance to its relations with countries from Asia and Pacific. COVID-19 pandemic exposed the world countries to new challenges. The government of Azerbaijan has taken necessary steps in countering pandemic from the beginning. In order to mitigate the impact of coronavirus on the economy, support business, and ensure macroeconomic and fiscal stability, the solid socio-economic stimulus package has been released. We launched vaccination campaigns since January. Close to 1.4 million vaccine doses have already been used. It constitutes 14% of our total population. However, the efforts taken on the national level only are not enough to successfully eliminate pandemic. Azerbaijan is on the forefront of the efforts to mobilize global action against pandemic. As the chair of the non-aligned movement, Azerbaijan initiated and successfully held the NAM summit in response to coronavirus in May 2020. The special session of the UN General Assembly at the level of the heads of state and government was held on our initiative last December. We are deeply concerned by vaccine nationalism and unfair distribution of vaccines among developing and developed countries. More than 30 rich countries ordered 53% of the world's supply of vaccines. Azerbaijan, as a chair of NAM and in its national capacity, will continue its struggle for the just distribution of vaccines worldwide, as well as access of developing and least developed countries to vaccines. Recently, the Human Rights Council unanimously adopted the resolution on equitable access for all countries to vaccines put forward by Azerbaijan on behalf of the non-aligned movement. Azerbaijan provided humanitarian and financial assistance to more than 30 countries in relation to coronavirus, most of which are least developed countries. Last year, Azerbaijan put an end to nearly 30 years of occupation by Armenia of almost 20% of its territories. As a result of occupation and ethnic cleansing policy of Armenia, more than 1 million Azerbaijanis were expelled from their native lands. In 1992, Armenia committed the Khojalı genocide, killing 613 innocent civilians, including women and children. The Khojalı genocide has been recognized by 13 states. The United Nations Security Council adopted 4 resolutions in 1993 demanding the full, immediate and unconditional withdrawal of armed forces of Armenia from all the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. However, these resolutions were never implemented by Armenia. I invite partner countries to join efforts to propose an elaborate mechanism of implementation of UN Security Council resolutions in order to avoid double standards. We all witnessed that some Security Council resolutions are implemented within days, but in our case, they remained unfulfilled for 27 years. There was no hope that Armenia would comply with demands of the Security Council resolutions. No pressure and sanctions was imposed on Armenia throughout all these years. Instead, Armenian military political leadership was threatening Azerbaijan with new war for new territories. In July 2020, Armenia perpetrated military provocation along the state border. In August, Armenian sabotage group attempted to penetrate through the line of contact. On September 27, Armenia launched large-scale military aggression against Azerbaijan, heavily shelling the military and civilian populations. Azerbaijan was compelled to launch counter-offensive operations to defend its citizens. Azerbaijan implemented Security Council resolutions and norms and principles of international law itself and restored the historical justice and its territorial integrity. During 44 days of the patriotic war, armed forces of Armenia were totally destroyed. Armenia was forced to sign the Act of Capitulation on 10 November 2020. Thus, Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict is over. The conflict was left in the past. All Azerbaijani citizen villages have been razed to the ground by Armenia during the occupation. Agdam city is called Hiroshima of Caucasus by foreign experts. Armenia deliberately vandalized, desecrated, and pillaged our cultural and religious sites. More than 60 mosques were destroyed by Armenia. Mosques were turned into cowshed and pigsty. Now there is a huge task before us: reconstruction of completely destroyed citizen villages, all cultural and religious heritage sites in the liberated territories. Smart city, smart village, and green energy concepts will be applied in the process of reconstruction. I invite companies from friendly countries to join the large-scale reconstruction in the liberated territories, the size of which is 4 times larger than Luxembourg. Recently, I defined national priorities on socio-economic development for the next 10 years. Competitive human capital and space for modern innovations, return to the liberated territories, clean environment and green growth country were identified as our key priorities. Azerbaijan is eager to maintain sustainable peace and security in the region. Azerbaijan has made enormous contribution to the launch of regional connectivity projects such as East-West, North-South, North-West transportation corridors. We are now working on the realization of Zengezur transportation corridor, which will be an integral part of the East-West Corridor connecting Asia and Europe through Azerbaijan. The corridor will allow Azerbaijan to strengthen its position as Eurasia's transport and logistic hub. I invite partner countries from Asia and the Pacific to consider the potential of this regional project. Thank you for your attention.
Due to impunity, we see the next manifestation of hate crimes of radical Armenians in Los Angeles. Head of Press Service of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Leyla Abdullaeva, said commenting on the scene of execution of a mannequin wrapped in Azerbaijani flag in the rally organized by radical Armenian forces in Los Angeles. Quote, "It's quite a serious issue. As you know, it's not the first time we face such actions of the radical Armenian groups based on hatred, even containing a crime. Hundreds of Armenian radical Dashnaks brutally attacked and injured the Azerbaijani minority in front of the Consulate General of Azerbaijan in Los Angeles in July of last year. Los Angeles Police Department had launched an investigation over a criminal case committed on the basis of hatred regarding violence against Azerbaijanis. Although 2 people who participated in the attack were detained, the search of the other 2 persons who were especially involved in the process is underway, although nearly 10 months passed from the incident. It is deeply regrettable and surprising that the main suspects in the hate crime have not been found and brought to justice. Our official dissatisfaction in this regard has been expressed to the other side. As it is seen, namely due to impunity, we see the next manifestation of hate crimes of radical Armenians in Los Angeles. Our serious concern in this regard will be once again conveyed to the U.S. Embassy in our country." End of quote. The centers of political analysis continue to discuss the consequences of the acknowledgement of fictional Armenian genocide by the U.S. President Joe Biden. The conclusion suggests that this step will not create any legal or practical responsibility for the Turkish state, but it will definitely affect their further cooperation in the South Caucasus and the aggressive position of Armenia.
Discussions related to the psychological state of President Biden, who signed one of the most shameful pages in American political history that led to more dangerous standards in the system of international relations, has significantly intensified. Some Western and Russian media reported that the 77-year-old president has memory problems, and the blows he received in the past in his personal life seriously affected his health. Biden's mental state and age should not be considered the reason that the President of the United States uses such pressure on his NATO ally. Given the strong financial support from the Armenian lobby during election campaign, the White House is currently dominated by those who coordinate ties with the Armenian lobby. It's emphasized that the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, who's a senator, was a close friend of the Armenian diaspora, closely cooperated with the National Assembly of American Armenians. Those who pay attention to the statements of the newest U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken can see that he's actually one of the key figures in Washington defending Armenian interests. Despite all this, the policy of falsifying history and using it for political purposes will never have an effect, because many tragic events in the world, conflicts, and the commission of massacres, the responsibility for them lies with the countries trying to determine the world order, including the USA. As head of the Turkish Grand National Assembly, Mustafa Şentop said, if historical issues are put forward by political decisions in this way, Turkey also has time to make decisions on American history. At this point, the United States is among the countries with the most tarnished history. Thus, Joe Biden's support for the fictional genocide is not the restoration of historical justice, but can be called political pressure on the fraternal country and part of a new game script against it. It's no secret that Ankara's independent policy in the Middle East, Iraq, Syria, the Balkans, even during the presidency of Barack Obama, caused serious concern. Recognizing the fictitious fake genocide of April 24th, the United States has lost its last chance to put pressure on Turkey. It is being replicated among the most widespread versions. Noting that this decision does not promise Armenia anything financially, experts say. First, to raise his rating, Pashinyan will use the recognition of a fictitious genocide in the election campaign. Secondly, this step by Biden will set the precedent for other anti-Turkish leaders. Thirdly, speculation will grow around the issue of protecting the rights of 150,000 Armenians illegally residing in Turkey. Fourthly, efforts will be made to spoil relations between Turkey and Russia. And fifth, states that are negatively disposed towards the brotherly country will receive a favorable platform for anti-propaganda. The early signs of this process are already emerging, so right after Joe Biden's historic mistake, the foreign minister of Greece, which has called relations with Ankara on his Twitter page, called Biden's step as the minimum debt to humanity. This event became the guarantor of next elections for the post of Prime Minister for Nikol Pashinyan, who sent a letter of gratitude to the US President. Experts understanding that Biden's statement is not legal but political in nature note that no practical procedures will follow this statement.
Those using the word genocide should look at the world and their own history. Minister of National Defense of Turkey, Hulusi Akar, said commenting on US President Joe Biden's statement in regards to the 1915 events. What do sane US citizens think about this? A decision taken at the behest of a lobby that no longer represents the Armenian people defies explanation from the point of view of reason and morality. It must be known that history cannot be rewritten through such political statements. It is unacceptable and useless to create new contradictions in history. The minister also stressed that historical events should not be politicized. Obviously, this will have a negative impact on the peace in the region, especially when it comes to the Turkish-Armenian and Turkic-Armenian relations. He further underlined that stability of our region is a common problem of Turkey and Armenia, but not of the diaspora and countries trying to exploit it for their own interests. Hulusi Akar also noted that Turkey has always stressed the need for historians, not politicians, to discuss the events of 1915, expecting this from third countries, including from its allies such as the United States. Nevertheless, with this decision, the US administration denied its own official information and, under pressure from the Armenian diaspora and others, ignored the existing documents, including the General Harbor Report in the US National Archives and Records Agency, the Turkish Defense Ministry underlined. The Mine Action Agency released weekly information on the demining operations carried out in the territories liberated from the occupation. From April 19th to 24th, 82 anti-personnel mines, 18 anti-tanks mines, and 79 unexploded ordnances were found and neutralized in Tartar, Agdam, Füzuli, Shusha, Gubadli, Cebrail, and Zengilan. As a result, 90.8 hectares were cleared of mines and unexploded ordnance. Azerbaijan's Ministry of Defense has released video footage from the liberated Akkent village of Zengilan district. .806 infections with novel coronavirus were registered in Azerbaijan. 1,224 people recovered after treatment and were released home. 31 people who earlier tested positive for COVID-19 died. The overall confirmed cases in Azerbaijan have reached 213,812, with 260,403 recoveries and 4,402 deaths. The number of active infections is 29,007. To detect new infection cases over the past day, 5,732 tests and overall 3,195,268 tests have been conducted in Azerbaijan. Task force under the Cabinet of Ministers reported. That was all for the day. Thank you for being with us and see you next time.